Hi, and welcome to Messages from the Masculine number 203. Why do good women choose bad men? I'm actually going to give you both sides because this actually works and vice versa. But before I get to that, let me introduce myself to you so you know who I am in case you haven't listened to me, watched me before. My name is Barry Selby. I am a passionate champion of the divine feminine. I'm also a best-selling author, speaker, and relationship attraction expert. I help strong, successful women find balance in love, life, and business. And this topic is definitely up to be talked about, which is why do good women choose bad men? Now, again, as a caveat, I'm letting you know that also this talk works the other way because this is also where, in less numbers, good men choose bad women. But this is for the context of this conversation. I'm speaking to the ladies about choices they make for bad relationships. And men, if you're watching this, you can just reverse the pronouns. I hope that works for you. So, why do good women choose bad men? Because it happens quite frequently. In fact, there are so many women I know, in fact quite a few of my clients and friends as well, who have made some, I'm going to be careful how I word this, less than healthy choices in their partnerships and have suffered painfully in their relationship choices afterwards. What may seem more mind-blowing than that is these same women choose different relationships with the same experience multiple times, meaning that their relationship choices are independent of the men they choose. The experience repeats itself with different men. This is what is known, from what I've studied, is known as serial relationships. This is one of my psychology teachings taught me. But what it really is automatic programming, which I'll get into in more detail in a second. But let me just give you some illustrations, some examples of what I mean by this. There are women that I know, I'm just going to be careful to not classify them too specifically so they can remain anonymous, but there are some women I know who have been in a relationship with men who have abused them. Women who were successful in business, women who were beautiful, elegant, self-supportive, nurturing themselves, seemed like they had everything together. Yet they chose men that abused them. In one case physically, in one case emotionally, I guess it would be psychologically and emotionally because he was yelling at her a lot. So it's like they weren't pushed into that relationship, they chose it. Which comes back to the title, which is why do good women choose bad relationships? I want to get into that and talk about that a little bit, because the painful part of this is that if you're one of these women who's done that, you may have done it more than once. In fact, likely you have done it more than once. And until you know differently, you won't do differently. I mean, this kind of sounds so succinct to say it that way, but that's what's going on. So let me give you some pieces of the puzzle. And it's very up for me right now because I'm actually editing a chapter for a book I'm in next year that speaks to this contextual piece in the work, because what I went through myself. So why good women choose bad relationships is based upon the fact that their self-image, their self-description, and their self-image, well, it is self-image really it comes back to, isn't what other people see them as. Now, to take this to an extreme, just because it came through as an insight, there are many people, generically, or generally speaking, men and women, who seem to have everything together and have committed suicide. So outward appearance and inside experience aren't the same thing. If you know what's happened to, I've lost friends, I've lost people I know who've committed suicide, who've lost their lives, yet they seem to have everything together. They were amazing looking, very happy people, seemed that everything was going well, yet they chose off. So the first part I want to make sure you understand is outward appearance doesn't mean anything. So you may look at someone and go, they've got it all together, they should have everything perfect, yet their home life or their internal experience may be so off balance with that. So back to the relationship conversation, or context, shall we say. The reason why good women choose bad men And again, I'm using that as the pronoun approach. If you're a man, you can look at it from the other point of view as well, because it does work the other way, although not as frequently. Why good women choose bad men is largely based upon the fact that these women excuse me, have a value system, I'm watching how to phrase this in the most effective way, that was imprinted upon them when they were younger, that still runs their choices. I'll say that one again. These women who may have everything together, again, quite often they're very highly successful business executives doing big things in the world, make things happen, and at the same time, their relationship choices don't match that quality of appearance. And by the way, there are women who choose men who look amazing from the outside as well, but inside they have such issues, upsets, and ways of being that the relationship is so dysfunctional. And I'm attempting to put this into a more of a generic context, but I'm going to have to go into some detail and break this down more. So, to put some straightforward message, put something straight through here to make this clear. And I'm not sorry. I'm just waiting for. I'm waiting for download and clarity to make this clear. But I want to start putting some pegs on the board so you understand the framework. So, as I describe what sort of patterns happen, there are many good women who weren't raised necessarily as good girls. Now, I'm careful I say that. See, that's the thing. I didn't listen for the intuition. I said this as it came out, and it wasn't clean. So let me reframe that. Please, bear with me. There are many women who have their life together, it seems like, but their childhood was rife with trouble and challenge. Let's put it that way. So, and I don't want to go into the blame mode here. However, they were probably raised in an environment where their parents didn't know how to raise them in a wise, healthy, authentic, holistic way. And to make it even more challenging is, the parents of these particular women, when they were children, the parents of these girls, didn't know they were doing things wrong. Quite often, it was actually the behavior they were doing, unaware, unconsciously, that influenced the child's beliefs about relationship and love. Now, this may be you, maybe somebody you know. But we all have influences in our lives from when we were very young. From our parents, or if you were raised by our grandparents, or even in foster care, doesn't matter how you were raised, you, as a youngster, particularly before the age of 7 or so, you'll have learnt ways of being in the world from the people around you who were the adults, the big people. And so when you become an adult yourself, you'll be running this influential programming inside of you automatically, because this is programming. This is not free choice, unfortunately. It's not conscious free choice that runs the show for you in life. So you may indeed be going out with men who tend to treat you badly and you don't think anything of it. Yes, you might be thinking this. And maybe you don't understand why. Well, here's why, in a way that's an example you can use as a model for your understanding, is if your parental upbringing, particularly from the men in your life, was less than ideal, less than perfect, less than positive, less than whatever that word is, and or the way that your mother raised you, where she was around other men that didn't respect her, honor her, or appreciate her, it's quite possible, and sometimes it works the opposite, but quite possible you'll take on this belief structure, this rules yourself, that you are in the same modality that she is, that you are in the same level of respectability or lack of respect as they are. So it doesn't matter how good you do in work, in business world, in life, in whatever you're doing, you still carry this default way of being in a relationship that is not your highest good. And it becomes a trap. So I feel like I'm going on the circuit to get to the point where I want to give you the actual piece I want to give you. So trusting that I'll get the download as I speak, I'm just going to give this in the sequence it comes through me. So why good women choose bad men is not because they're looking for bad men. It's because their programming takes them that way. And again, as I said earlier, for men, this happens too with women, because there are good men that choose bad women, as it were, or nice men that, well, I'm looking at the languaging, but the truth is there are men that make bad choices in relationships too, because of their upbringing. So this is really speaking more to the women, because more women go through this than men do generally, or at least more women are aware of this than men are. But it works both ways. the option, or I should say, let me show you. Let me back up a second. The trap is running unconsciously. As I mentioned, it's the programming you took on when you were younger because you didn't know any differently. We become influenced by the way the adults around us treat us and each other before we become about 7 or 8 years old. It's been proven in scientific research. I'll give you the details on that if you want. But if you don't know this, then you become an adult with these automatic programs running. Like, I'm just thinking of using, I was trying to think of a movie reference, but I'm not sure I have one right now. Well, basically you have this intention, it's almost like being hypnotized, where you're basically going along in life thinking you're doing everything right, and then suddenly a hypnotic suggestion comes up, and you suddenly do something different. If you've seen any movies or TV shows or acts where you see a hypnotist work on somebody, where they'll have them do like a certain keyword or trigger them, it's the same thing in your life, except it's a behavioral thing, not a phrase or a keyword. It'll actually be a trigger in relationship. But it's that hypnotic and it's that automatic where you'll be out of control. The difference is hypnosis doesn't affect everybody. This programming does. So when you have these automatic programs running as hypnosis, as it were, inside of you, where you don't know that you're even going to do them, you may be going out and choosing the best bars in town if that's where you'll go looking for dates, or the best matchmaking service, or the best dating app, whichever it is. It doesn't matter what you look for, criteria-wise, in partnership. And I hate to say it this way, but it's the way it is. If you're not looking from clear eyes, not looking from a true nature of who you are, you'll be in a place where you're going to actually attract somebody to you who, despite what they say in their profile or their description or whatever that is, what you'll be doing is actually having attraction to somebody who's going to bring forward that pattern you haven't resolved yet. You will actually be the provocateur, as it were, of that pattern that you haven't resolved yet. So you'll be looking for somebody, again, not consciously, but subconsciously, in your actually midbrain runs the show, that draws to your relationship partners that will give you the experience that you haven't yet resolved. So if you have past history of negative relationship experiences, be it abuse, neglect, cheating, whatever that is, you're going to keep repeating it until you actually take charge of doing something about it, and secondly, getting help to resolve the patterns so you don't get hypnotized anymore. Or I should say, don't run the hypnotic programming anymore. I hope this makes sense. And again, this is something that I speak to a lot in my work with my clients, because for many of them, the heart healing work I do with them is unearthing and resolving those patterns that have been running the show for so long. It's not pretty, but the freedom from it and the transformation from it is huge. Now, a couple of caveats to add to this. Many people have this programming running. There are a few, or exceptions to this, where they either had a very benign, loving, neutral upbringing from their family, or they had such a dramatic experience as a child, they actually rebelled against it. So, I say from my own experience with my dad, he was not abusive. By the way, my dad is, he's still alive, an awesome dad, but he had ways of doing things that I didn't like. So I became almost opposite of the way he was. I chose, like as defiance, I'd be doing things differently. His way of expressing, and still is to be honest, was very matter-of-fact and very stern, unemotional, and didn't have any connection. I couldn't feel his heart. But my own experience was, I wanted to connect. I wanted to be in community and connection. So I actually became softer in reaction to my dad. So I was the opposite of him. Now, another part of the conversation I talked about before is that my relationship history was I didn't have the ability to understand that loving and arguments could go together because of my upbringing. So every relationship I got into would end with an argument. The first one. So I missed out a lot in my early love life. Because my programming was in my family was, we didn't have any arguments. So my programming in here was that love didn't include arguments. So if there was an argument, there wasn't love. It was black and white for me. So I'm grateful I didn't have trauma in my history, but I know that we all have the programming. So I'm letting you know that you can get help, first of all, and I can help you with that if there's something you want. But before that, if you're wondering why you've made some bad choices in your past relationships, and again, it's true for both sides of the conversation, men and women, I highly recommend you look back at your history, first of all, to see those common threads to past relationships where you actually had a repeated experience that didn't work. Maybe each of those past men you dated, ladies, cheated on you, or got drunk, or abandoned you, or abused you. If that's the case, you can go further back and look at your childhood. I can almost guarantee if you look back at your childhood, you'll see a model that was implanted in your mind by your parents or those that raised you when you were 4 or 5 years old that has still been running to your adult life. Even if you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, it may still be running. So this is not a pretty broadcast. This is a evocative one perhaps, and ideally it will give you some ideas, inspiration and thoughts about how to move forward. But if you're fed up dating the wrong type of person, this may be the key to set you free. I think that's it. Yes. Thank you. By the way, I saw people just saying hi on the camera, so thanks for being here, thanks for watching, and thanks for your comments. I didn't chance to read them. I was on a roll then. I will respond to once I sign off. And this, by the way, just in case you didn't know, my name is Barry Selby, by the way. This is my daily my daily broadcast. This is number 203. Wow. Messages from the Masculine, number 203. There are plenty more of these available on my website. Also on my website, which is Barry Selby. You can go on the video blog to watch them there. Also on YouTube or on my business page on Facebook. And I might even put these onto my podcast. We'll see. Lots of content. So 203 broadcasts so far and more coming. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. If you know anybody should watch this, please share it with them. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. And if you need help in this area, if you're feeling like you want to get some support and some healing and some resolution with this, reach out to me. Over social media, go to my website, you click on the Let's Chat button, and I can help you there. All right? Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with me as always. And I invite you to please take care of yourself because we need you. And you deserve the best. Take care. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.